Hey guys, what's up? My name is Ben. I'm the lead social media manager and programmer for Soul Shard Studios, and today let's recap the last few weeks of progress for Throw Everything. First up is enemy AI. One thing that the game has been lacking for a while now is smart and interesting to fight enemies. It doesn't even have to be that smart, it just has to avoid walls, avoid other enemies, and have, one or two special attacks or whatever. Well, I was able to get all that figured out and add a little bit of spice on top to make sure that each individual enemy is interesting in its own way and has its own unique abilities and attacks. This change to the game really did make the game feel a lot less like a tech demo and a lot more like a finished product, just because of the fact that the enemies were more fun to fight. I mean, it's so simple, yet it's the most important and it's the core part of the game. So getting it done really made a big impact. We're going to have to change a lot of the design aspects of the game and the balancing, but I definitely think that it's worth it, and it's definitely something we're going to be addressing in the next few weeks. So without further ado, let's check out what's changed. The first enemy I decided to update was the Bandit, and really that's because there was nothing special except for the new Agent Avoidance and Physics Avoidance, and you can see them avoiding trees and keeping space between each other so that, you can't kill them all at once because they're in a straight line towards you. That's a big improvement. And other than that, they just try and get close to you and stab you to death, and that's about it. Also, yes, I know that they jitter, and yes, I plan on fixing it soon. The first enemy with interesting custom behaviors is the Goblin, and surprisingly, it also wasn't that hard once I got the glue of my AI system figured out. And all they do is they run away from you, and they heal, and they start running away from you when they're at half health. And that's all the logic that they have. But even though that's so simple, it creates some very interesting battle situations because when they heal up, they will come back and fight again, which I think is super cool and interesting. So, my favorite enemy has to be the wolf. I mean, I just love the dash attack. It really forces you to keep your distance and be aware of where the wolves are. Otherwise, they're going to come up behind you and bite a chunk out of your leg, which would be terrible. And I mean, it just works so well with the other systems. The fact that the sand slows down the wolf and also slows down the dash attack is really, really cool. And I mean, it just all works together seamlessly. And it's just a great enemy. And I'm really happy with how it came out. Next up is the Ranger, and we decided to make it so that they give you a wide berth so that your short range weapons aren't really effective, but they can still hit you and pursue you if you're out of range. And I think this works really well together. They are definitely an interesting enemy to fight and a good addition to the whole set of enemies that we have. Next up is the Slime, which is a support enemy, but it's an effective support enemy because it will slow you down if it gets too close to you, and that really opens up a whole world of possibilities for issues to arise. For example, rangers can get at you from a long distance, but you might be able to dodge their attacks. That makes it less likely when you're a lot slower. And for example, if you have the wolf, they can charge at you from a distance, and usually you can outrun them, but maybe not if you got hit by a slime. So that's kind of the whole slime's gimmick, and I definitely think it serves its place well. Last but not least, we have the Wasp, and we actually changed the Wasp from a melee enemy to a ranged enemy because it was originally intended to be a ranged enemy, and it's also just good for us to have two ranged enemies in the game, just so we have a little bit of variety there. These guys, unlike the Ranger, actually go through walls, and they do have similar behavior to the Ranger, but their darts poison you, and that's pretty much about it. They also stay closer to the player than the Ranger does. And yeah, that's pretty much the extent of the Wasp. It definitely works well as a different variation of a ranged enemy. So yeah, I think the enemies turned out really well, and I'm really happy with the progress that we made in that area. So yeah, let's just go ahead and look at all the glitch fixes now. First up is the fact that the settings in the pause screen were not really interacting properly. I mean, you could just open the settings screen while the game was paused, and that was... it was just not... yuck. So I had to go and fix that. One thing I didn't expect to become buggy, but somehow did, was the title screen. I don't even remember why, but the projectiles would stop spawning. There would be issues with you viewing out-of-bounds stuff at different aspect ratios, and I decided, yeah, we need to just clean all that up. Next was a really hilarious glitch where pretty much you could open a container over and over and get infinite slots of the same slots of the inventory. Basically, the chest would have this many slots. If you opened it again, it would duplicate it. You opened it again, it would duplicate it. Just absolutely insane. Just crazy. Yeah, definitely pretty interesting. It was an easy fix, but it had hilarious side effects. Another bug after I finished the UI was the settings screen disappearing. Just straight up, like, all the settings would be invisible and you couldn't change them because of some dumb stuff I did. So yeah, I had to go fix that too. Next was an issue that had existed for a really long time, which was knockback compounding. So if a bunch of enemies gathered together and hit you all at once, you get knocked back like crazy. So I had to go in and limit it to one knockback event per frame and not 50 knockback events per frame, because that was when the enemies were grouping up too. Luckily, this is pretty much not a problem anymore, but I still fixed it anyways. Next was the flail not colliding with enemies. You had one job, flail, hit the enemies. I think it was related to some piercing bug, which I had to go fix. One other really annoying bug that I decided to finally get out of the way was enemies just disappearing. Like, you'd be walking around, they would be there one moment, and then they'd be gone the next. And I was like, how is this happening? Turns out I went into the code and it was some weird, dumb indexing thing, thanks to Unity's transform stuff, which I just, thank goodness for that, you know what I'm saying? But oh well, at least I got it in, and we no longer have that stupid bug. Alright, that just about does it for the progress that we've made in the last 3 weeks. Get subscribed, get notifications on, check the link in the description to check out the Discord server, where you can see all the latest stuff, interact with the community, and just generally get notified of when we're doing new live streams, when we're doing new uploads, and condensing all the progress we've made from the last 3 weeks. And yeah, just get ready for the alpha, because it's going to be here at some point. So yeah, if you really like what you see, then yeah, do all those things and get ready for the alpha. See you guys later.